Hi, everybody. I'm going to give people a moment to hop on. Today, we have a beautiful, smart, intelligent, educated young professional woman coming on to do an interview. She's located in Eastern Europe. Raised there, and it's going to be such a fun conversation with me because this is the first time on this page that I will be speaking to somebody who is not Circassian or even part Circassian. I have had people on here that were like part Chechen and part Circassian, so I'm very excited to have her on. When I'm meeting people online and getting people that, I think would be fantastic to come and speak here. And, everybody I've had is so interesting and brings so much to the conversation of our community. And I really just can't wait to get to know her. So without further ado, I'm going to add her. Get to see what I'm talking about. And thank you all for joining. There she is. Hi.
Actually, this is from Central Europe.
Central Europe. Sorry, yes. Since we've never met and we don't know each other, I am all ears. Correct me when I'm wrong. It's totally fine. I'm so looking forward to getting to know you. How do you pronounce your name? I don't want to say it incorrectly.
So first of all, thank you for having me. It's Tejna.
Tejna. Perfect. Your audio is a little bit fuzzy. A little bit?
Okay, let me check that.
Okay.
But actually, is there my hello?
No, it's a little choppy. Don't worry, it's okay. We'll fix it. It's okay, we'll fix it.
Because I actually have this now.
It's better, but it sounds like what's the word? Rough. I don't know how else to say.
But I don't know honestly why, because
it's okay.
Nothing is covering the mic.
Your mic. How about you disconnect and then we'll reconnect and we'll see. Sometimes it's just the connection issue.
Okay, then I'll be back.
No problem. Muffled. There you go. Jenna's saying it's a little muffled. Hopefully when she comes back, the connection will be better. So yes, she's not from Eastern Europe. She's from Central Europe. And she's of Chechen descent. And hopefully, I can't wait to get to know her. So many suggestions. You guys are so helpful. Thank you so much. And please, if you are interested in joining, go live with Tejna. Come on, Instagram. Say something.
Do you hear me better?
No, it's still muffled. Do you have headphones?
If I put them in, it's going to be even worse.
Is it?
Headphones, and they don't work that well, unfortunately. I have no idea how I do. You hear me now better?
I can hear you fine, but it's muffled. It sounds like
What do you mean muffled?
I mean, I can understand you. I wish I could show you. I can understand you, but it just sounds like muffled, like something's covering it.
Then you said to pick my phone up. It is up.
I'm not
holding. It is up.
Okay.
I'm not holding anything. Again.
Okay.
So,
I think we should still carry on. I can understand you, so that's not an issue. It's just a little bit muffled, but it's okay. It's okay. Okay, so Quack BG is gonna get removed. Thank you so much. Confirm. My page has gotten a little popular this week, so unfortunately, yeah.
amazing job.
Yeah, I'm
However,
happy.
I'm still worried about the audio because people keep saying that it's okay. Well, we're just gonna continue
I think we should just go through it. It's okay.
Right.
Okay, so Tejna, please introduce yourself, your connection to the Caucasus. Just give us a little update about like where you're from and basically how we got into the point where we are talking right now.
Hello, everybody. My name is Tejna, and I am from Chechnya. I was born in Chechnya. However, because of the war in the beginning of the country, my family immigrated to Czech Republic, where I grew up. And 5 years ago, I moved to Austria. How I got back, see, I've always lived abroad. I will call myself a child of a third culture, meaning for that in household you have a different culture, and then outside you have a different culture.
Right.
And it took me, I would say, I turned 24, and I can say 24 years, finding the balance, and then having to set myself into that culture because it's a part of something so rich as historical, traditional, it's a part of you when you are different. And because I was always very different, I had a hard time setting in. There was a time when I like wanted to acknowledge who am I. I didn't saw myself as Caucasian. Didn't saw myself as I didn't want to have nothing to do with it. But recently, with more and more having the stability in my own life and the confidence between the steps I make towards getting to know myself, I realized that where I'm from is the thing that I'm proud of.
Right. Beautiful.
Okay, so people, I think still cannot hear.
I can hear. It's just, people are. It's okay. Just try to ignore this.
It's people I also am friends with.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay, as
I know
long as
that they actually use a good way. Guys, I am unfortunately sorry.
We know, guys, the sound is not perfect. She's
I'm
looking
trying my best.
Yeah, and honestly, that when you speak, sometimes it comes in a little clearer. So I think just the more we talk, I can understand you. It's not perfect, but that's okay. And the fact that I always say the fact that we're able to do this at all is like a miracle. So I love to just take it as it comes. You should see some of the stuff that happens on this account. Just like, you were doing our best.
The last one.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's so interesting, this third culture kid mentality and just really embracing that, just embracing all the layers of your identity, right?
Yeah, I'm like, the people still heard us. Okay, I'm gonna ignore it, but we're gonna continue.
Okay.
I just hope everybody can able to enjoy it as much as possible.
Right.
Well, it was surrounding to Austria, which was beginning of 2018, where I fully acknowledged that I want to. I grew up in Czech Republic, where the community of Chechens is very small.
Okay.
And I've never found a way how to fully set in. And I think like because I grew up in between two cultures, Czech culture and Chechen culture is very different,
Right.
really historically very different. And because it is, I've always tried to find like a balance on how I'm supposed to be praised outside to have friends and what I'm supposed to be at home.
Right.
And when you try to search in between places like household and friends, and you're a teenager, and when you emigrate from war, and then you remember all these stories, and you remember all these like you struggle with this,
Right.
and then you come to a new place, you are a child. I want it's easy to get into society when you're children, but still you're confused because I think you are pushed,
Right.
pushed on you different outside. I differently than my friends did. And I grew up from home, but that is, that is like I think every teenager kind of does because when you enter the teenage, it's kind of so much good and so much of like self-discovery and all of such a chaos if you know how to do it. So then to Austria, I decided that it would be a great idea to create a safe place.
Mm,
Never what I was trying to do at first. It
right.
was there were many ideas regarding this. I wanted to create an Instagram account for picture, meaning uh, at outside, you don't know inside because you are always gonna be a little bit different. And because you're always gonna be a little bit different as outsider.
Right.
Um because of that, tried my best to with the more and more time going in, I realized that it was trying to offer other people that I don't need to think about my own efforts.
Right.
And because of this, I realized I have to stop everything I did and everything I talked about. There was a time when, the beginning of last year, I decided to create like a small podcast. And it was
Mm,
the time when the podcast started like rushing, and now everybody has a podcast. So
right.
ago, I was like, I really want to do it. As almost 2 years ago, actually, beginning of 2021.
Okay.
I was like, I want to do it. I want to try it. I created 2 episodes, and then I ended. I was so insecure regarding who am I and what I am. So, but we are today.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just need a little bit of time. And I think that as you grow, also, this idea of identity will continue to evolve. Um, and I can relate. So I know in America, the community that I grew up in is very small too, but we have a few thousand, maybe several thousand, just Circassian people, in that area in New Jersey. So there are people that you can fall back on. But just like you said, when you go to school, when you go to work, nobody knows who your people are. Actually, when I was younger, I used to say, "Do you know where Chechnya is?" And they would say, "Yeah." And I would say, "Okay, we're like next to Chechnya," and they'd be like, "Oh, okay." So I mean, I would have to do that hopping around, also as far as identity goes.
I had no idea that the community in the United States is so big.
Yeah,
Obviously, we're all around the world, but when you think about it, because it's literally across the ocean,
right.
it is very big. And more I get people to know, and more it's an honor to see that we are literally everywhere. And I think, as I mentioned before, I find it fascinating that everybody who is outside from their motherland, whatever it place in Caucasus it is, they do there. Meaning there are people who are amazing artists, people who are lawyers, people who are, it's just, it helps you absolutely, there's no limits. And I found fascinating the fact that people can break those like expectations because you are an artist, and then there are some kind of like standards in the culture, especially Chechen, which is a little bit stricter, very quite strict.
Right.
There's a lot of expectation, there's a lot of pressure, and it's how you have to act certain way. Certain, and when you don't know what's happening, and then you want to do something, but you never ended up able to pursue the career or the goals you want to do because there's this pressure from the community that you live in.
Right.
And I struggled with this for so long. And seeing, getting to know and more people actually open to self discovery, but yet they acknowledge something. It's a big honor. I think it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful balance that I think so many people are trying to achieve. And some, as you mentioned, do it so beautifully. They just really manage to make that balance. Um, have you ever been to the Caucasus, being a child of diaspora?
I was the first time in 2015,
Oh,
which
okay.
was 15. Well, I would lie if I tell you that remember correctly, like exactly 12, 13 years after we left. To me, it was like I had no idea what is this. I was 15, if I remember correctly. When, oh my God, my numbers. um, I don't remember exactly. I think I was 16, 15. You know, the time
Okay.
when you decide everything, who you are, you don't know where you are. And you go to this country where you are allegedly from.
Mm,
You've never seen these people. My knowledge, my mother tongue knowledge wasn't that good at the time.
mm,
So the first time when I stepped on like foot on the land of Chechen or Caucasus, I was overwhelmed. There
oh,
were a lot of people, uh, cousins and aunts who knew me. I never saw them, who were telling me, you are this small. You were this small when I saw you. Now you're this tall.
wow.
I miss it. I can tell you that I miss it because even though I love Austria, I am very grateful to live in such a beautiful and prosperous country. The sense of being surrounded by yours, being
Mm,
surrounded by people who talk the same language. But we're not talking just about the community, we're talking about the sense of really being somewhere where it's yours
right.
and being able to escape to the mountains whenever you want. It's just
Wow.
I really try for, and I cannot wait the day when I can just go back.
Oh, I hope that day for you is soon, and I hope that it is everything that you have in your heart. So beautiful. Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself. What have you done with your life? Like, what's your field of expertise? Where's your like? What's your professional side, basically?
Okay, so I graduated as a tailor. That's completely irrelevant information, but just to kind of get to kind of understand of how my path went completely from A to Z.
Right.
Was 2017 I graduated as a tailor, so I have like a degree in tailor fashion, right?
Okay,
But
beautiful.
currently I work for bank and IT sector. It's really something completely different than I ever thought I would end up doing. Yes, but I really enjoyed that. It's given me a sense of being a real adult. I would say this, I'm a bit of a nervous. I was really excited to do this interview. It's always something I was looking forward.
Oh.
I have like a notes right here like, put next to
Aw.
me.
I have my notes too. Don't worry. I'm fully equipped with my notes also. Ooh.
Yeah, well, briefly telling about me, grew up in that wanted to be Czech, but I'm not Czech. You cannot fit into that. You cannot fit into being Chechen. You cannot fit into anything. I grew up having completely like kind of a blockage, like a
Mm,
free expression of myself. I was all over the place. I was struggling with mental health because again, I had no idea what I want, but I just went from what I was told to do. So there were actually a lot of careers I would like to do, and I don't regret it because I know that where am I today? It's standing proudly on my feet. But I often think about what would happen if I would go, for example, I used to be painter. I used to draw a lot to the point that I was actually invited to like a study in a particular school, but I didn't go there because the pressure from kind of community where they tell you that you cannot do this as a woman, I left it. I haven't picked up much ever since. So
oh.
I course, it's kind of like you balance in between. Um, um, yeah, that's all. So I'm kind of like talk about 20, um, self-discovery. I started working in Starbucks, for example. I
Mm,
started working when I was 15 in coffee shop.
okay.
And I always remember I went to high school in the morning and then work afternoon. And it's always been, I kept myself busy all the time. And it's been like this since like, ever since I came to Austria. I kept myself busy all the time in order to not think about me, having to deal with the reality. And like this, it went from basically all my teens. So we can say that I was a little bit way too a workaholic, but it was to the point that I didn't feel comfortable by being in the reality. So I graduated as a tailor, then at the same time I was um, struggling with, and it just all I tried to help people. So 2017 I graduated from the high school. At the same time in 2015 and 16 I was a part of Erasmus. So, you know, sometimes going and having some kind of a, actually, I used to have exactly similar things, but because it was like almost 10 years ago, I always forget. Because in elementary school and high school, I was bullied because we were different. And I often talk about this, but it's been so long that I totally forgot that I did it. Um, when we arrived to Czech Republic, okay, I will start like from the beginning because I'm all over the place right now. Terrible. So when we arrived to Czech Republic, the world was really new to me. We spent in refugee camps, big buildings with fences around, security around. It's intimidating. It, um, till this day, I have no idea how my parents managed that with my siblings. So I come from a family of five, with two parents. It's a lot of kids, a lot of responsibility of coming to a country where you don't know anything. And even though I understand and fully acknowledge that having a white skin is a big privilege, I am fully acknowledge of that. I would, you know, the racism was there just because we were different, like different language, being a refugee, having a different documents than, you know. And with this, we struggled until I was around 10.
Okay.
And then we got citizenship, so officially Czech, on paper only.
Right.
And then we moved into our place. We found apartment, and I started going to elementary school in officially in Prague when it was in third uh, grade. For us, like in here, it's always different, but in Czech they have like the fourth grade that is like juniors, elementary school, but juniors. And then from fifth till nine, there are seniors, but in elementary school. And when you end up in the school, you're 15. So that's kind of like, so you will understand how it kind of works. And on because, you know, all this trauma is process of kind of not having idea of what's going on. I have nobody to talk to because my parents always working everything. It ended up with being bullied for like several years, actually over a decade. Exactly. And I worked on it. I worked on it. It didn't left so much pressure on me as it did back in the days. But it is a big part of me right now. It's a big part of me. It's a big part of when I see somebody weaker than me that I have to take control of it. I have to protect them. And it started from this. Then we continued to elementary school, high school, so and working. Which it is.
That's well, you know, I can say that the world needs more people like that who are brave enough to speak out against bullying, against domination. You know, people who feel like they can kind of come and bulldoze over certain demographics just because they can. Um, so keep going. Don't stop. um, that's beautiful, Tejna. Thank you so much for giving us that beautiful background to your life. And you know, it's true what they say about people who have certain struggles very young, you know, growing up with certain struggles, you know, it does leave a lifelong impact on your character and on your personality. So I'm just, I love it. I love it. It's so beautiful. Um, okay.
Or jumping into your work. Actually, there's a little bit more important from my side.
Mm,
I've been working on it for the past 2 years.
okay.
Not official. I mean, now everybody knows it. But in this project, I want to be more regarding what it is, how it feels to be exactly the child of the culture, because
Right.
it's so intimidating to the point that you have and it's too easy to fall into the trap of a mental health, like
Right.
issues with mental health. And
Right.
I think the biggest problem, one of the questions we were talking about, the biggest problem of the Caucasian cultures is that it's such a taboo with mental health. And having somebody who up abroad, being completely cut off from the motherland, have no other choices to just, exist. And you start existing by losing yourself. And not many people can make it up until they can live with mental health issues.
Wow.
And when you're with these things, nobody will support you because the taboo of the mental health is so big that they don't even believe that they need a psychologist, which is something I still to this day see, hear. So yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I love everything you just said. Especially that part about learning to that you have to serve in order to survive, you have to, what was it like?
Yourself.
Right. Wow.
Disconnect from everything you know and everything you are. And that is so hard to do because it's comfortable to be who you are. It's comfortable to sit in what you know because this is the only thing you know.
Right.
And living in the space, in the same space, you kind of like, I would have, yes, it's uncomfortable. And that's why many people, especially because it's going from ended up being rather as of like a victim zone where they rather would complain, actually take it and do it. And that's what I love about the new generation because we see it and we can acknowledge it and work on it. And that's something what I'm just absolutely in love with.
Right. And I'll say that's something I also love about the younger generation that's now maturing and putting their voice out. I will be 100% honest with you here. I am usually, but especially on this topic, I am constantly inspired by that energy. And it's like I seek it out. It's so amazing to me to see people in an age where I obviously used to be, but with like clarity and confidence to speak about things that people my age and older than me still can't, you know, like get their wheels going just to get it out. This is why I'm a recovering TikTok addict because,
I
you
did
know,
it a long time ago.
yeah, it's
Like,
but it's so nice to see young people get out and just really talk about things intelligently, confidently. Oh my God, with so much passion and conviction. It's amazing. And yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing how this kind of grows and matures over time. But it's so beautiful just to see that. Um, as somebody now who could be like someone's auntie.
don't say that, you look beautiful.
No, 36. Come on,
You
I
are
could be.
beautiful, you are young. Listen, until the show is done, you will be forever young.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
See,
the
this
energy
is
being
what I
young.
love about you guys. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's see. I mean, there are so many questions. Is there anything that you want to discuss off topic, like offhand? So there's like a stereotype that you'd love to dispel, or maybe the misuse of the word Caucasian. Do you have any experience with that? I mean,
So when I moved to Austria, which was the beginning of 2018, I couldn't speak nor German nor English. My English was really bad. It was what is that, 2022, or like 4 or 5 years, since that around.
Okay.
My English was really bad. I couldn't speak it, so I didn't really understand. You know, when you don't have a knowledge in certain languages, you don't understand the slang and the culture behind it. Now,
Mm.
English is worldwide, and because it's so, you kind of have to understand it. You have to speak by it every single day.
Right.
Um, that only happened when I moved here, and I was forced to speak one of the languages. And now I don't speak German. I don't speak English. Do. Of course, I will start speaking English because all of the people I worked at Starbucks at that time, in Austria, all of the people's customers were English, so you start
Mm.
speaking English. So get yourself into like going slowly, going, and then so easy to misinterpret the words and the smart words. No, 100%. You have the capability, especially because you're adult. But it's so hard to do so because you don't. And
Right.
then the moment where I found out that Caucasus, now, for example, in Russian we say Caucasus, right?
Mm.
Um, so like directly translate to Caucasus, that I hope people started saying Caucasus is white. And I remember I had such a mixed about it. I was so confused, like I never understood someone how this happened until I found out what had happened in the past with the German scientists. It's very confusing, very frustrating, because when you say to someone, especially American or somebody who's not have that much of a knowledge about the region, like from Caucasus, they obviously will think that you're just Caucasian as a white. So there are a lot of stupid, like stereotypical words that are, the term frustrates me. I don't like it. I want it to be ours because this is our name. It has nothing. It has nothing to do with white race. Absolutely nothing.
Oh, thank you. I feel the same. I mean, growing up in America and the forms, when you fill out Caucasian, Hispanic, Latino, whatever, and I would always put other because I know that when they say Caucasian, they don't mean me as much as I wish they did. Um, yeah,
You
I
cannot
mean,
even identify as yourself.
right. So how many languages do you speak?
Officially,
Yes.
okay, officially we have English, we have Czech, we have Russian, and we have Chechen, and we have German. Now, I don't speak German every single day, so there will be people who call me and probably never speaking German. It it is good. It's B1. I understand, but I refuse speaking it because I have such an accent. People just always tell me, and then I start blushing and I cannot talk it.
When I was living in Turkey, a lot of Turkish people, um, they like to learn German because they try to go there. They try to immigrate to Germany. So I got to learn a little bit about this like interesting German language, German culture. Very, very little bit, but from what I understand, it is notoriously difficult. It's a very hard language to pick up.
The
Because
grammar
everyone
is
says English
crazy.
is very hard, but German looks hard, like really hard.
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons why English is so easy and to understand is because if you have she, they, he, we say one, right? So
Mm.
in German, you have completely different like section, timing, gender, just also,
Wow.
and it's not just in German, but every other language as well. For example, in Czech, they have even more the grammar, like as possibilities to change the word in action, for example, as well. But I had the hardest time with German. I cannot remember it. It's so hard. I don't know.
Well, you probably speak better German than I'll ever speak if I lived 3 lifetimes. So big respect to you for having so many languages under your belt. Um, I'm sure you're at least that. I mean, alone is just so incredible and like a testament to, um, you know, where life has taken you, right? Um, okay, let's see. What is a characteristic that describes your culture as a whole? So, how would you
Proud. I'll
proud?
say proud. I would say actually the best. I actually have it right here, and so just to show it off. Maybe not even proud as much as fearsome.
Oh, okay.
So in our capital city is called Grozny. And in the book of the Third War, which is give me a second, I had it somewhere here. In the Third War, written by Russian journalist,
Mm,
he describes Grozny named Grozny, which is basically fearsome. It
okay.
well describes the personality of Chechens. It well describes their strength, their proudness, and I would say it's yourself. I would
It's
say
perfect.
100% because it's a great mix of being proud of our, even though it's not easy all the time, but still speak about the deep roots which no matter where you are.
Right. Incredible. Um, so cool. Okay. So this is a cool question since we're talking about being a third culture kid. Do you think the saying, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, is always good advice? Why or why not? And have you ever had to do as the Romans do in order to survive? And we've talked about this a little bit already, but if you want to maybe frame it in that context, just to give people that kind of insight into that, how that experience goes for you.
I would ask you to elaborate on just to elaborate a bit on when in Rome and Romans do. Do we talk about if you're in Czechia outside, or just talk about if you are abroad?
See, that's the question. So when I've asked previous guests, I had a guest use that question for their trip to the Caucasus. The Caucasus to them was Rome, and they were learning how the Romans did it. And then I've had other guests use that question about their culture that they have grown up in, being Rome. So I guess when I wrote this question, I was thinking more of like when you're like a Chechen in Austria or in the Czech Republic and you're in Rome, you know, you're among life, you're living that life, and like you were saying, it's especially Czech Republic is so different from your own Chechen culture that you grew up with. um, you know, how did you kind of navigate that? Like, what's an example of when you had to do like the Romans? When did you have to step out of maybe your Chechen role and do something that was more Czech maybe?
Oh my God, there wasn't any time for this. There was absolutely no time for this. There is no Romans do, Romans don't. You just go meaningful. And if I'm, that's why it took me for so long, and I'm so down with my feet on my ground, knowing 100% at age 24 am I and what I want. Because ever since I moved to Czech Republic, I grew up there, I was raised there, and as you mentioned, it's very different. I wanted to go out, for example, with my friends going to see cinema, but you know, the expectation about a Chechen woman has to sit down and it's not pretty when I hang out too much, even though I just want to see my friends. I'm such a let's go out adventure person. I love taking pictures. I love life. I love, you know, emotions, all of this. And just like casually going out sometimes would have been a problem because generally this is not how Chechen women behave. Or
Right.
a Chechen child go and have fun with someone else who is not their culture, you know? And I think one of the problems was that, excuse me, one of the problems was that my parents were afraid that I would leave the beach, you know, because it's so easy to just like fly somewhere else. And I think it's such an individual because some people genuinely prefer to fly somewhere else, and I cannot judge them, and nor I ever will. But this is me. And day 24 I know that there is a balance I found in between of when I'm in the community. If, for example, I'm at work, it has nothing to do with who am I. I'm respectful who am I, but meaning I will adjust to the culture where am I. I cannot be expected to come to a country which allows me to have safe safety, to have an apartment, to have an income, to like going out into park and coming back without having fear of like being able to return home safely is very like we don't talk about how normal this is, like how I forgot the word, but you know what I mean, like
Yeah, it's a huge blessing,
correct,
right?
correct. I am in country, of course I'm not gonna like if I'm in a country, I'm in Austria, meaning I will do as the Austrians do. So when Rome, I do as the Roman says. But I still do not forget where I'm from, because the fire, of course, always a fire of motivation. The
Right,
deep
right.
rooted is inside of me. I'm proud of where I'm from, but it needs a balance because you cannot expect me to go around and tell people what to do if they are not me. I'm me. This is my business. This is who am I. Just because I'm this way doesn't mean you have to be this way. So, if we say Rome is Austria, then yes. If
Yeah, beautiful.
you have to have a respect to which country you live in, because many of these countries will provide you the freedom, they will provide the safety, the housing, which is not easy to get, especially in our ages. Like it's hard to get to these things.
Right. I had a guest, I think my last guest, her name was Deanna, and she lives in Jordan. She's a Circassian artist, amazing young woman, and she made the same point that you made about safety, about just knowing that where you are right now, you have water, you have a home, you have, a relative idea of safety. And, right now in the Caucasus, and so my goodness, the whole world, right? We see every day a new headline about things that happen. And it really is not, it's not something to take for granted. So it's a deep level of gratitude just to be able to look around and say, all right, let's do this.
Let's go out, let's go have a coffee, let's meet friends, let's
Right.
laugh. These things are, I think, when you come from such a countries as the Caucasus, which were affected by over world
Oh,
over, you kind of coming into the country where you feel safe. You have a different type of appreciation to this. You see it completely differently. And even in Czech Republic, we can talk about any other topics, but even it does not matter. This the safety thing is the thing that people take for granted the most.
right,
Because they count it as a normal thing, but if you look around and you're actually self-aware, it's not there.
right. In the Circassian community in New Jersey, after everything that happened in the Middle East, a lot of refugees, Circassian refugees, entered our community, and I think it helped a lot of people remember and realize too that living in America, living in so close to New York City, which is so cool to be so close to such a major global city. Um, America has a few of them, but New York is the top, you can't really beat New York. Um, so having access to that, access to schools and organizations and scholarships and, it's not a small thing. It's a really big deal. So thank you so much for touching on that. Even me, I love the reminder. Because we're programmed at some point that complaining is fine, and to some degree it is, but you also need to take a step back too and just kind of ground yourself. Um, okay. All right. I love this question. Are there any areas of your life experience so far that you feel you've broken generational trauma?
Yes, there are. So we kind of discussed and touched this topic in previous questions as well. It's from our ancestors, you know, Caucasus was attached, affected by many different topics, many different situations in our history, and our ancestors were struggling the most. Now, it
Right.
is scientifically proven that trauma and trauma and mental health can be passed by DNA, meaning what our ancestors were struggling with, without knowing, we carry it on in our body.
Right.
Now, if we are not aware of this, often the struggles we go through are passed through generations. And if our parents didn't have the possibility to see these things, now with the social media, now with more, there's such an absolute lot of people
I
talk
know.
about mental health. So we make sure that people can feel actually have a freedom of speech, you know? And we as a kids, like the fifth generation, the second, let's call it the second, you know, like wave of children of immigrants, we have a great possibility and chances to break these generational curses. And everything I do today, everything I am, is the proof that it is breakable. It's the proof of the fact that I can get what I want, I can be who I want without having the pressure of setting myself into something, to do something. We're talking, for example, you know, I don't have a background in IT, but yet I found such an amazing job, you know. And what I believe is that this job got the personality I am today, the same hunger for power and
Right.
knowledge what I am today is the I have it inside of me because I was capable of acknowledging what happened. I have appreciation and deep respect for my ancestors because I understand how much struggle they went through. And I haven't had childhood as well. There is a lot of things happening. One day everybody will find out when my project will be done. But
Right.
but it is nothing. Again, we don't compare traumas.
Right.
Absolutely not. Absolutely, there is nothing as a competition. There is nothing to compare. But if we actually talk about our ancestors, and we talk about, you know, all of whatever happened in the last century, this was something that affected generations. And with the new us, like as of the second wave of abroad living, we have a great chance to break it. And as I mentioned, as I said, I will just repeat myself. Everything I am, everything I do is a proof of the fact that you can break those. It is not easy. It took me 24 years. And even till this day, I found something to I self-reflect on. Something I want to always be, not perfect, because there's no such a word perfect, but I want to see where next I can go. I want to see what else I can do, learn, explore, you know? And we're talking explore not as a traveling the country, but getting inside of my mind. See what the things, you know, of course, having such rich cultures, having such qualities in us from where we are and living abroad will always make it hard on us because just as I mentioned all this time, the standards are still there and they will always be there. And because the community holds into them, the kids who are different will always have the hardest time. But those who will acknowledge the differences and like, because my boss always says the biggest part of the team is always how strong the team is. Meaning, if I am different than my community and I embrace it, I'm stronger than most of the community because I am who I am, you know. So I hope that.
That's beautiful answer. Beautiful answer. There was something I wanted to ask you as you were speaking. It will come back to me.
Yeah.
Don't be surprised if I cut you off and I say, "Oh yeah, yeah, I remember that thing that I wanted to ask you."
Good.
um, oh, it was so good too. It's okay. I'll remember. Do you have any hopes for the future of the community you're part of or the Caucasus in general? So maybe the Chechen community that you said is very small from the Czech Republic or kind of wherever you identify yourself the most.
You know, I'm Chechen. I'm proud of where I'm from. I think it's a beautiful culture. of course, we can always find something to point out at anything. I'm not like always optimist. I call myself rather realistically optimist.
Mm,
I prefer to watch at the things at the half glass. If I have a glass half of the water, I think about how I can fill it up. Um, but I honestly, I am Chechen, but at the same time, I am me. I always say this. There's no myself in labels. I'm always like, I have to be this, I have to be that. And recently, I'm just Tejna. I'm just me. I am me, and that's it. I don't have to prove I'm enough Austrian, if I'm good enough Czech, if I'm good enough Chechen. I'm Caucasus. I'm a child of mountains. I'm proud of where I'm from. I appreciate my ancestors, but I do not have to prove where I'm from. What I have hope for is that what I feel will feel every child who feels outside of this community. That's
right.
what I wish them, because I know how liberating this is, how freedom you feel. You know that you don't have to. And I know this because kids cry, they don't feel welcome. There's so much like, you know, this, when people, when it's not about my business, or we don't even say minding my business, and more professionally as of like, wanting to know everything about everybody, and always focusing on what others do rather than focusing on your life and how you can like how you can actually work on yourself, because the moment you put yourself first and you stop the sense of I have to be the same as everybody else in the community, inspire more people they plan, right? And I hope with MI today, just posting some pictures, you know, saying it out loud, because I'm saying wrong with it. I'm not saying to you you have to be certain ways, because I will respect you, but I demand the respect back. And I think respect, it must be owned. I think the community deserves more people are original, and remind the younger generation that it's okay to be different, but yet at the same time you can acknowledge as Chechen or Caucasian, like Caucasian. It's such a hard thing to explain, because, growing up, it's like you have a community, especially here in India, the community is very big. It's
Mm.
very big. Everybody knows everybody, and everybody knows everybody business. That is something I'm very uncomfortable with, because I believe that we have to have our own lives. But with the new generation growing up, them seeing this, there's always two paths, or they do the same. So that they will mind rather others' business than theirs, or they will invest in themselves and invest themselves, right? Like a gold, like diamonds, And these people are the ones who, and I'm not saying like ruling, but ruling as of inspiring, and the future and the bright future you see in each of the communities. And I hope more people will be like this.
So I remembered what I was gonna say. Um, you seem like a popular girl. And when we announced that you were going to be on here, I saw the support from your side. People were so happy to see that you were going to be on talking. They were so supportive. And of course, I stalked you on your page. I was looking at all your stuff, and you've built on your side such a beautiful and loving place. I know social media is not perfect, but um, in some way it feels like you understand that you're helping people when you also help yourself, right? So on one hand we dig deep into the universe, of our mind and our feelings, but doing that we're able to hold space and help people who are just behind us in that journey. They want to be where you, like, let's say for example, you are 24 years old, and you've said it more than once that you know exactly, like, you're very confident in where you stand in this world. When I was 24 years old, I had a quarter life crisis. I was in full crisis. I didn't know I landed. It was like I was just being born again. So, but of course, with that, you know, you grow. Everyone grows at their own kind of rate and trajectory. Um, but I definitely find just your confidence in the way that you speak about this topic so inspiring, so refreshing. And I get it. I get why you have all these people. Yay, she's gonna be on. I mean, I get it. It's such a beautiful thing to hear. It really is.
It's an honor for me to have such a supportive people around me. You have no idea. I think one of the reasons why I have confidence into continuing who am I and without doubting itself is because I found people who are like me. I
Right.
found people who can relate to it. And it wasn't easy, but the fact that I have them, it's an honor for me, and I cannot describe it with the words.
Oh,
Of course, not everybody will always stay in your life, they come and go. But even the chance of getting to know someone like this, the chance to share thoughts and share and getting to know and just generally have the path crossed is an honor. And
mm,
I'm actually on social media very long. It's so long, 2004, 14, sorry, 2014, 13, something like that. But
right.
in time, I had different profile. I deleted it, then I started from the beginning. But as I said, it's an honor. I understand what kind of it comes with a big responsibility because you always have to be careful to not cross too much of that path. You
Right.
are, I'm fearful, fierce. I never know if fearful is a word in English. There is this fire, there is this want to do everything in this world. But then at the same time, you have to remind yourself that there are more people than you fear. It's not just about you. It's not just
Right.
about what you want to say. It's also around other people.
Right.
And the people who vote under the comments were the people who that I am exactly this type of person. I finally do the first steps to introduce myself into this world.
Oh, beautiful. Just beautiful. Um, ugh.
You know what? I actually have to tell you, when I turned 24, I was thinking if I will have a life crisis, like the quarter life crisis. I think about it often because I'm like I mature very quickly, and at first, well, yeah, it's a lot. It sounds like great, yeah, mature quickly when you're a child, right? But in the long run, now I'm 24, and you get yourself to the point where you burn out from life.
Right.
It's so much that you are like like what next? Is there next? But not like as if like I can go somewhere and do everything I want, but more like I experience all of the emotions, and
Right.
more majority of those emotions were negative ones. What is there next? How can I continue with this? Um, so I often think about it. If I will have life crisis,
Ooh, you, you see this wrinkle over here? That's from when I turned 25. Yeah, that is from my quarter life crisis. I hope you never have it. I hope
honestly, I don't mind it. I think it will give me a new way how to look into the world.
mm, that's because you're a Scorpio. You guys love that stuff.
I'm
Yes.
not gonna say
Yeah, scuba diving into the deepest parts of the ocean. Casual,
I love
casual.
ocean.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm obsessed with water. Everything I'm said is so calming. And the deep parts of the ocean which are dark is something that is my mind. Because I know I have these deep parts of me that I fully accept it. I have shadow self and my light self fully together in working. That's why I'm
Beautiful. Yeah, for me, when I think of the ocean, I think of monsters, and I'm like, no, I'm on the land. I have to push myself with that. It's a conscious I'm shoving myself. I'm like, come
yeah.
on, dude, you can do it, and I'm like, no, I can't do it. This is so scary. So, the bravery in just that alone is so admirable. Beautiful. Okay, let's go to another question. Do you think culture could play a part in coping with anxiety, grief, sadness, or depression? So, the things in life that are difficult. Do you think that culture can be part of that navigation through those harder times in life?
Of helping or in terms of making it worse?
Um, coping, like helping,
Helping. Okay, coping,
helping.
helping. Yes, I do believe so because you have a culture, right? And then when you find, this is exactly what happens to me. When you find somebody who is the same culture, same preferences, same, understand struggles, and can fully relate to you, and you can speak out loudly about these things without being ashamed of it or having the worries that they will say that there is a demon inside of you because you have a depression.
Right.
um, it's liber it's freedom. It's freedom. It gives you, it takes the stone from your soul and puts it away because you
Wow.
understand that you're not alone in these things. And because the moment you understand you have a right and freedom to say and speak about the fact that you have anxiety, depression, or other things. And I'm so sorry for everybody who experiences it because I know exactly how this feels. It can, culture can make it worse, obviously. Again, we can always find something what to point on. But at the same time, you always can look at it in a different way as well because culture makes you understand each other closer.
Right. So almost it's almost like having the courage to share that you're struggling or have struggled, right? To your community that may have contributed to your struggling.
I
it,
didn't say that. I did
it
not say
can
that.
come back around where now you are helping maybe people who have the exact same struggle in order to connect and find, like you were saying, a common place between you and different members of your community.
I kind of like got myself out of it and now I'm swimming back into it. It's like
Yeah,
I
I
like
can.
the struggle, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can relate completely. That's what gave me the idea and the courage to even start this page. Um, because we say so much in secret, we say so much in whispers. Um, God forbid people have your name in their home, in their mouth. God forbid people are speaking about what you've been through, right? They speak about your experiences like they lived it or whatever, right? That judgment that we're all so afraid of. Um, but I don't know. I got to a point where I just said, I can't. I have to share it. If one kid listens to me talk about how I grew up and what we went through and it helps them, that's it. That literally made the whole thing worth it. Um, so it definitely comes from a place of experience and love and wanting to communicate and share. Um,
But
so
it
I,
also
I, I
comes
can,
with the courage. It comes with the courage. It comes with the confidence behind of each of your words. It comes with fear. Because when you start something new, you don't know how it's gonna go. You
right.
don't know how it's gonna backflash. And I'm very proud of you. And I have such an admiration
Oh,
because you don't just exclude from, and you talk majority about where you're from, especially, right? It's not just Chechen, but you still include Caucasus. And I love how you include indigenous people because we are also indigenous, but this world is known differently, right? Different cultures all around the world. So the fact that you manage, I watch these stories, I watch them every single day. I
thank
see
you.
that you include other cultures as well, and I find it absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Well, that's what helps, right? Is knowing that you're not the only person who's going through this thing. There are people in Siberia who went through what our people are going through. There are people in Canada and in Alaska and in America and in South America and in Asia and Europe. They have this human conflict situation. And we don't have to, like I said recently, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to start from scratch. You just have to look out and see, okay, who is hurting the same way I'm hurting? How are they dealing with it? and it's amazing the wisdom that you will find. You know, it's just breathtaking, actually. And I don't make it a secret. You know, the Black community in America, the indigenous community in America, the immigrant community in America, they inspire me so much. And that is where so much of my own fire comes from. Um, and we have that in common, I think, which is beautiful. Okay, Tejna, I'm gonna two more of these questions, and then I'll give you back your evening.
I don't mind. I can only imagine how about many things we could talk.
I
Hopefully one
know.
day myself, not in New Jersey, in New York, and we will find a coffee and place and talk about it more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You're always welcome. Wherever I am, you're always welcome to visit.
Thank you.
Any,
Tango
any,
Street. If you
thank you
ever
so
find
much.
yourself in Europe, let me know.
Oh, you'll know, trust me.
I will be only honored. I will be
Oh,
only honored.
thank you so much. Okay, so I have a saying that I like to say every once in a while on my page, which is I got from the Native American community, that we are our ancestors' wildest dream come true, right? So when you hear that, you know, what does that mean to you? What part of your personality that, you know, you can't deny that part of you, of who you are? Do you think would make your ancestors just so proud, if they were to like meet you or get to know you or hear about you? Um, and I know it's kind of a layered question, sorry, but what part of your life
I'm
do
just
you,
thinking. I'm just thinking. Keep talking. I'm just
yeah,
thinking.
what part of your life do you think their prayers for the future have been answered in you? You know, in your, the way you conduct your own life.
Okay, so to begin with, in prayer, I think the biggest part is the freedom. I think it's the safety,
Mm,
and I think it's the fact that no matter where I am, I will not lose my. I think my ancestors from my culture, from books I read, I see, and we remind ourselves about our past. It's pretty visible what happened,
right,
and we know what they went through. And prayers for stability. They prayers for a chance to, as I mentioned before, go out from the house and walk in
right,
safely. They prayers to have a right to choose who you will love.
right.
Um, the prayers of, for example, being able to communicate that you're struggling with something. I think these things are the biggest dreams come true because they are the basement for your life. This stability is the basement on the house, and the house is your life.
Right.
And these things we take for granted, and I think this is what they prayed for the most.
Wow. Such fundamental human rights, really,
Yes,
that they were denied
correct,
generation after
correct,
generation.
correct.
And you're able to consciously be grateful and experience these
So,
things. Wow.
I know that some like we're talking about deportation, we're talking about killings, talking about all of it, and our ancestors went through it, and we carry it in our body, and of course we can deny it. You don't have to work on it, but if you work on it, it gives you life energy. With that goes back to the question you mentioned regarding the generational curses and
Right.
generational, ancestors. When you work on it, it gives you such thrive in your life that every day you wake up and you feel the flames burning inside of you for wanting more, for wanting live, for wanting experience, and all this is just, it's so it's something I love to remind myself every single day.
Wow. Beautiful. Is the just the passion to live, right?
Yes, yes.
Just
You said it like
passion.
one word. I'm expecting you like the
No,
sentence, and you said it two
you
words.
you gave the definition and then I gave the word. We did that together. I mean, beautiful. And I think you're absolutely right. I think you're absolutely right. That to me feels like, everything that, you know, when you think about even you, like for me, I have two young boys, 6 and 2 years old, and I tell my husband and my mom, for example, I think about their grandkids. I think about them holding their children's children, and what does that look like? What impact am I having on those kids? You know, um,
I already know that. I
uh,
already know that.
I'm really trying. Motherhood for me has been a spiritual journey. I could not have gotten to this point, which of course I still have so much work to do, without their existence into my life. So for that, I'm grateful. Um, okay, and then the last question: do you ever get social anxiety before entering a cultural setting? Um, have you, of course, you have explored why this happens to you, maybe how do you manage it? And I asked this question for people who are watching that maybe have the same issue. Um, I know a lot of people who have that issue. I used to struggle with that. Um, so,
Not anymore.
okay.
Get a social anxiety by entry into urban cultural settings because I know again who am I, what I come with, and you take me or you don't take me. The rest, what people talk about me, that's their problem. What it is, yes, I used to get this all the time. Before I am standing here talking to you, before all this, of course, I was struggling for many years, and many of my close friends, many of people I no longer am in contact with, saw this in me. I used to, Chechen weddings are a big celebration. They are huge. I love to be a part of it. But I love to be a part of it now because I go in the wedding with no expectation, with
Right.
not having, we have this beautiful like way how to dance and like lesbian time, and Mozart and all these things that are beautiful. But it creates such a stigma for a girl when she has to sit around the circle and she, for example, doesn't get asked to dance,
I see.
right? It's
I
kind of
see.
like a much had happiness on the young girls
Hmm.
because you have to dance, but if you don't know how to dance, hey, so much pressure into these young girls in order to be perfect, to have to ways, certain ways. But I was that girl. I know how it feels, and because I grew up so I wouldn't like to say overweighted, but I had extra of like extra layers of me, which is nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong, and you should love yourself the way I feel. And I'm actually 6 foot tall, and
Wow.
when you have 6 foot tall and you have a little bit more, around your body, it shows you're always on the spotlight, especially when you have a character as I am, and then you are insecure. You are always in the spotlight, and when you don't get asked to dance, you sit there and you're like, what is wrong with me? Why I'm not getting danced? And this is just, you know, weddings are the big part of the culture.
Hmm.
It's a celebration. It's, there's always something, as I've mentioned, we're point at, but we're looking big picture right now. Um, I used to get very nervous. I hated going there. I disliked it. I don't never liked it, But time coming in, I realized that again, it's a 24-year-old journey, but this is I walked into that room with no expectation. I don't have to get asked to dance because the determination of getting asked is not determination, but the act of getting me asked doesn't have nothing to do with my body.
Right.
I know my worth, and because I know my worth, no other surroundings outside of my own energy and my own soul can determine how I should feel about myself. And
Right.
that is such a thing we struggle with. And with being insecure, any gender can do this. Any gender, especially for guys in our culture, they have to be tough. They cannot fully um, express how they feel. They cannot express because it's found it as a weakness. But I mentioned this already before. embracing your weakness makes you stronger than somebody who's hiding because there's nothing they could, like point at you. Because the moment somebody tells you, for example, you're a big star, it's my body, you know, and I so a little bit further. But yes, I used to get social anxiety. Um, Today I don't. I walk into a room, I make it my own. I I maybe too cocky, but it is what it is. I don't talk to people as I'm something more. I am you, you're me, and we're in the same kind of stuff. As I
Right.
mentioned before, I respect you and you respect me back. If you don't
Right.
respect me, I don't talk to you.
Right.
That's the biggest part of this. Um, how I got to this was fully embracing everything I am. You go to, and we're talking still about the wedding because this is a big part of, especially living abroad, living
Mm.
outside of the motherland. You don't have
Right.
many chances to join this type of a typical cultural events because they're not that often here, right?
Mm.
We live in Chechen, but at the same time, we live in this European world where we go and work. I mean, we everywhere work, but it's not a big fun because you have to remind yourself that you don't live in your home country, and because you don't, there's no time or chances to get outside of those events or yeah. So the weddings is basically a big part of it. And then it's also spend so much time getting to ready, and they're so beautiful. All of them are beautiful. Young to celebrate their life, wanting to enjoy the moment, meeting with their friends, having amazing homemade food. Like they want to enjoy, but they cannot. Why they cannot? Because there's this stigma of having to look certain ways, fit into standards, And from these standards, there comes the anxiety because you always think it has to be
Right.
perfect. What is perfect? What is
Right.
normal?
Right.
So I,
Beautiful. I don't know if you, when you just said that, what is normal, what is perfect? There is a book that just came out by, he's amazing. His name is Dr. Gabor Mate. And he speaks about trauma, and he worked in the field for decades. He's a Holocaust survivor. He was an infant when the Holocaust happened, and you know, he grew up. I mean, he's just a global reference point for this topic, and he just released a book called The Myth of Normal. That there's no such
so
thing
gonna
as,
get it. I'm so
yeah,
gonna get it.
yeah. I bought it. I'm waiting to finish the book that I'm reading now. I'm gonna read it next. Um, when you were talking about this dancing and this circle dancing and stuff, it's kind of amazing because I pictured it as you were talking about it. And the way that it works, right, is on both sides, the men and the women, they're literally standing lined up. They're lined up. So you can, and like, I would imagine myself when I was in these events, what does it look like? All of the girls next to each other, because I can see all of the guys. So what does it look like with all of the girls? How do I look? I'm so worried about myself.
You are, you are explaining it very well. This is exactly how it feels like. There's this
Yeah.
sense of like I had to stop my stomach, and we I was when I was growing up. I had bigger stomach. I really did, and it showed up on every picture. And I've always heard suck your stomach in.
Right.
But we say high gay towards it because like suck your stomach in and be more skinnier, like
Right.
and this is what they think about. This is where the first signs of body dysmorphia come with,
Right.
and from there on it goes. And anxiety, body dysmorphia, that just when it goes untreated and when you think that this is normal, it just this curses even more. It's a traumas even more. And I just mentioned it earlier. If you don't talk about it, that's the hardest part of it all.
Right. I one of the things that I used to think about a lot too was this concept of like, it's, to me it feels very rigid. This concept of what our region, our people look like in general. you always see a very
Yeah.
like very like it's
It,
across
it's
all
the
the
it's this I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. Everybody's
right,
beautiful, but
right,
the standards are harsh. You gotta be skinny. You don't have to be just skinny. You gotta be really skinny,
yeah,
beautiful, like like a swan's elegant. It's gorgeous and beautiful. Yes, it is. But you can be elegant without having to do this. You can be 6 foot and you can be elegant still. You know, it's a pressure, you know, and the Caucasian traditional dresses are exactly built for this, you know, they don't sell. I was shocked. I was talking with my friend who was recently getting married, and she was trying to search oversized traditional dresses together with the beautiful waist belt, belt, right?
right,
Yeah.
right, right.
Um, anything, you know,
Mm.
and that's the biggest problem of that because we have such a harsh standards and we don't from them, you know, and this is what we want or they want or we're expected. We're expected, that's a better term. But with the generation coming in, acknowledging who they are, I hope all new people are coming in and new things will happen. It doesn't have to be wrong. You know, it doesn't have to be like you suddenly always forget where we're from. I'm very different, but yet I'm from and still proud of where I'm from. And I that's what I hope in this new generation that the culture will get kinder to these things, you know, more open towards the mental health, more open to the fact that there is nothing wrong with seeking psychologists, nothing wrong to go for what you want, you know, and yeah. And I
Yeah.
see it. I see the girls. I have like, you know, growing up having, you know, always been different, not having a chance to have a friends. I never have really friends.
Mm.
Never. Until recently, like 2, 3 years, I actually wanted to touch that topic. You know, the topic of being a good daughter, where
Yes.
you wanna please your parents, you wanna please. That's exactly goes with the like a third cultural child. You wanna
Mm-hmm.
please your parents, you wanna make them proud, but everything you do seems like it's not enough, and you set yourself into these standards, into these behaving standards, where you behave as everybody expects you, but you completely lose yourself.
Wow.
And you're just like walking empty can of like without water. You know, it just it's such a hard thing. And that's exactly what I've been through. And you know, I'm extroverted. I am extroverted. I walk into a room, I want to get to know everybody. I want to hear them. I want to talk to them. And because I'm like this, I got to know a lot of people who were my friends. I thought they are my friends. And the insecurity of a friendship still was there. I was very insecure when it came to about having friends. I thought I can trust anybody. But the more I cut off um, of this like wanting to be a good daughter, and I was myself, more I found people who can be you, but at the same time you can be different. And that is such a weird concept because people always put like, if you want to be different, you cannot be Chechen because different doesn't equal Chechen, you know? You
Right.
have to be same. And these things are like, yes, I can, because I'm living proof of it. I might not be perfect. You know, this, again, what's perfect, what's anything. And completely going back because I always talk and then I lose myself. Um, in like past 2, 3 years, you know, as I mentioned, when I fully started acknowledging who am I have such amazing friends right now who are Chechen, who are Caucasian, and who
Wow.
embrace what they do. I got to know this girl, or actually I don't know her, but I follow her Instagram.
Right.
Um, she is a guitarist.
Oh.
You probably don't know that I talk about her. And she only wants to
Hi.
feel that.
When she finds out.
Yes, but oh my god, how cool is that? And she does like she plays on guitar Chechen music, which is
I
not
know
oh,
this account. I know this account. Oh my God, her.
I
Yes, I
think I got to
followed
know
her.
her too.
I messaged her. I said, "You are phenomenal. Wow. Like I was blown away by her talent. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's like it's such a huge thing, you know. I was mind blown. I was like, oh my god. And all of my other friends, I like this as well, you know. We're talking about doctors, we're talking about artists, we talk about I have a friend who lives in the Middle East and she recently was in Chicago. Um she actually was in this as well. And she was a curator for an art exhibition, you know. And I was mind blown because where did I met somebody who's a curator, Chechen living in Middle East, currently in Chicago?
Wow.
Concept that I'm in love with. I love people who think what they love to do, what they're passionate about. But I mean, you don't have, if you don't accept people, don't be. I am not here to tell people what they have to be. I am living my life.
Right.
That they should, you know, it's,
Amazing.
you know, it's just like, and there are more people like this, you know, before I start talking, it's just going to be, I have a crush on all of them. They're absolutely amazing. I love people who do what they're passionate about.
Yes, I completely agree. I understand. I mean, even if it's something that I don't necessarily care for, just to see people excel at what their gifts are and always kind of acknowledge, what where they came from, and just always kind of bring that in with them. I agree with you. It's so beautiful. So when you were talking about this social anxiety and we were discussing it, to me, it felt like if you get social anxiety in these cultural settings, it's normal. It feels like it's completely normal and it's almost like it's on purpose.
Yeah, yeah, 100%, absolutely. And not only it's so normalized, but it's like so much of this enjoyment you can have from it because you meet all of your friends there. You know, you go on a wedding, you see your friends, you talk about the life. It's also busy, we never have time, especially when you're adult. I haven't seen my best friend in a year and a half. You
Aw,
know, but she lives on the other side of the world, so it's obvious. But
aw.
still, you know what I mean? Like, I have other friends, like, yeah. I never call anyone my best friend. I always have this tendency because I know her the most. But all of my close friends, I never see them. We're adults. We have so much things to do that we never find time, even for ourselves, you know? So then going out with someone, it's also hard. So when you
Right.
do these weddings, you get all prepared up, you buy this
I
beautiful
know.
dress, and you want to enjoy it. This anxiety and social anxiety, and all of it takes enjoyment from it. It really does. And yeah, it's sad. It's very sad because
It's sad, and I hopefully talking about it, making it something that we can all relate to, will help people, overcome it, or decide maybe that they're going to work on it. Yeah, I get anxious, but next time there's an event, I'm going to go. I'm going to be like, all right, I'm nervous, but I'm still going to have a good time, right? And like you were saying, these weddings, you dress up, you get your nails done,
it's so
you
beautiful.
spend a lot of time and money, like maximize it, you know, just enjoy it, right?
Yeah, and we have the traditional music, and it just I love Caucasian music. I actually have like artists in my playlist which are like those like Western artists, and then like funk play them in the background. You just sit there and you listen to the sound of the instrument, and it speaks to yourself. Like it
Right.
really does. It's something like you cannot you cannot change it. It's just
Yeah.
over.
Right. On your page, music is a big part of your story.
I am music now. I know like we could talk about what music is and what is allowed or not, but to me, music is everything. And we're not talking about music as of like I wanna hype, I wanna hype and everything. We're talking about it can give you motivation, it can everything. And I am sensitive. So I can go to concerts and I can enjoy them. But majority of the days I walk around, maybe you already noticed, I walk around with my AirPod Max because they so help to better my ear and calm me down. I always have some music playing in. And I know, like, this, it's also because I used to band and I wanted to be a singer and
Oh. You still can. You still can. Tejna and the tambourines. That's what you're
in my
renting.
bank. I will stay in my IT. I'm very grateful.
There's definitely more stability in IT, I think, than rock and roll. um, well, thank you so much for this conversation. I feel like we could sit here and talk all day, but I am going to give you back the rest of your evening. I appreciate it so much. To that were you since day one, guys. She's been so enthusiastic, so supportive, so like ready to go, without hesitation, like literally a dream, just to kind of work with you in the little bit that we've back and forth. But just know you always have me in your corner. I'm watching your page from my little chair, in Dallas, Texas, and I appreciate so much the effort that you put into bridging these gaps and informing people and giving people the words, the language for what they're experiencing, because of all the work that you do with yourself, which is such hard work. It really is. So again, thank you so much. And I can't wait to see this project. You just let me know whenever this project is out. Just throw it my way and I'm going to gobble it right up, okay?
It's been an honor for me. Thank you for having me. Thank you for allowing me to speak with the one and a half. Thank you for saying those beautiful questions. They made my life much more easier because otherwise I would have been always flying in my room. You're amazing. Thank you so much for handling it. And again, anytime, I'm just as much as you watching my stories, I'm watching yours on both accounts.
All right.
Both accounts.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Yeah. Thank you so much. And enjoy the rest of your evening. Okay.
Enjoy the rest of the day. I see you have a daylight for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I still have. All right. Take care. Bye bye.